Welcome in, Braves Today, bravestoday.com. He's Lindsay Crosby. I'm Ben Taylor. It's all brought to you by plainscoffee.com. Promo code Braves, 10% off. Lindsay, the struggle bus continues for some of the guys in the Braves lineup. And it is one is unexpected, but you and I have talked about it. It's probably about time he did struggle a little bit, Marcell Ozuna. However, Olson seems to get on a kick where he'll have 3 or 4 games where we're thinking he's coming back. And then he'll go on a streak of 15 to 20 games where like he's not back. And so, those are 2 big pillars in the lineup that it would be nice to see some productivity come about heading into the All-Star break with those guys.
Yeah, I think that, and just to kind of clarify here, last 15 days, so 12 games for these guys. Marcell Ozuna is batting 171, 15 strikeouts, although 9 walks in those 12 games. Matt Olson's batting 152 with 3 walks to 19 strikeouts in that span. Both guys have hit 1 home run in those 12 games. And I think, we've talked all season about how you need a couple guys hot and how it felt like everybody was cold early. And you've got guys that are hot right now. In that same stretch, Sean Murphy's batting 355. Austin Riley's batting 286. Jared Kelenic is 319 and just insane as a leadoff hitter. And what I think hurts here is Atlanta waited probably longer than we would have to swap Austin Riley and Marcell Ozuna in the lineup, right? You move the struggling Riley down to 5th. You bump Ozuna up to 3rd. And if you were making a new lineup right now from scratch, you would probably flip-flop those guys back and put Riley back at 3 and put Ozuna at 5. And so for a team that doesn't change the lineup a lot, the question now is, does Marcell Ozuna get going again before Atlanta finally gets to the point of making that switch back and putting Riley back up at the 3 spot? And what kind of damage does it do having to below expectations or below potential performers back-to-back at the top of your lineup there at 3 and 4 in Ozuna and Olson?
Yeah. And listen, these are first world problems. And the reason I say that is because you're talking about a team that's 10 games over 500. The Phillies have played out of their mind. Otherwise, this will be a lot closer race than what it probably is. In great position as far as wild card is concerned. And then that Philly series just around the corner.
Here's the flip side of that is Philly just lost both Harper and Schwarber.
Right.
They're not going to be out incredibly long, but they're going to miss the Braves series. And Philly just split a 4-game series with the Miami Marlins.
Mm-hmm.
So you have an opportunity if you can get hot, especially with you playing them. You have an opportunity to significantly lower that gap. If Atlanta can, if Philly stumbles in the series they're playing right now, if Atlanta handles their business against the Giants and then goes out and sweeps Philly, you can make this. You're not going to completely catch up, but you're going to come pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to make it into a neck-and-neck race down the stretch again. So, I want to say you don't panic, and we don't panic. Panic's not the right thing to do. But I do think this is a really important stretch of the schedule simply because this is the opportunity to get back in the race where everybody kind of assumed, it's probably over. This is your chance to get back into it if you can get hot and if you can get these guys going again.
Well, and that was going to be one of my questions too, is people are going to take this as a panic button when I say it, but that's why I was going to ask you, is this a must-win series? You got to, I don't want to say a struggling Giants team, but it's definitely a team that's below 500, so they've got a losing record right now. And then you got the Phillies, who are limping right now, missing 2 of their key bats. And, and then you got a couple of more series as you head into the All-Star break. I call it not a must, but this is taking advantage of a particular piece of the schedule that the Braves used to be able to do. And I do wonder with the struggles that the lineup's having right now, if they will be able to do that these last 4 series before the break.
Yeah. I'll say it's not a must win because I don't think anything right now is a must win. But you need to handle your business here, right? Correction. It's not a must win in the context of the full season. if you want to get back in and extend that streak of NL East championships, then this is a week where you have to have a winning record. And ideally, it needs to be a couple games in favor of a winning record and not like 6-4, right? So I guess I'll kind of split the difference there and say it's not a must-win series, but you've got to do really well this week if you want to still be in it for the division, because this is your chance to make up ground on Philly. They are staggered a little bit. You figured out some stuff with Jared Kelenic. Sean Murphy's hot. This is your chance to get back into it.
It's all brought to you by Plains Coffee. Go to plainscoffee.com, promo code BRAVES, get 10% off regular coffee, even teas. And, of course, they don't go ahead and roast those beans until you make your order, and they ship them directly to your door. Flavored coffees as well. Keep that in mind. Again, plainscoffee.com, promo code BRAVES, 10% off. Lindsay, the San Francisco team that's coming in, at first they had not announced a pitcher against Lopez. However, that has since changed, is now with it being game day. They do have a pitcher in mind, and Birdsong. And what are some of the expectations? First off, before we even get into the pitching matchups, one thing that you'd said that you would have liked to see, and it would have been super cool to see, is if they would have either moved some stuff around and seen like Hicks go against Lopez and maybe move Webb up or maybe drop Birdsong back. But apparently the Giants don't want to do anything involving history.
Yeah, it's Jordan Hicks and Ronaldo Lopez are the two best performing converted relievers into starters this season. And so Lopez pitches on Tuesday versus Birdsong. Hicks pitches on Wednesday versus Chris Sale. It would have been nice from a storyline perspective to see Lopez and Hicks face off. So I think that's interesting. But either way, I do like Atlanta's chances when it comes to the pitching matchups to win 2 out of these 3. I mean, Hayden Birdsong is a prospect. He is making, I believe, his second career start, and he stumbled a little bit in that last one versus Ronaldo Lopez, who, depending on when in the week you catch him and how many days out from his last start you are, he's either qualified for the leaderboards and has the best ERA in baseball, or he's just an inning or two short of qualifying for the leaderboards and having the best ERA in baseball. So, you like that matchup. Jordan Hicks versus Chris Sale. Jordan Hicks, again, has had a great season, but you're at that point now. He's already thrown 85 innings. He's passed that innings limit that he did last year, and he's facing Atlanta's winningest pitcher in Chris Sale, who 2.79 ERA and 10 wins already, leads the team in strikeouts as well. I mean, you like the matchup there as well because you feel like you can win anytime Chris Sale takes the mound. And then Thursday is Logan Webb versus Charlie Morton, which the last time we saw Morton, he looked good. His stats are comparable to Logan Webb's. And Logan Webb is a guy that pitches those a lot of sinkers, tries to get a lot of balls in play and let the defense work behind him. And we know Atlanta excels at hitting balls hard. So you have an opportunity, especially at home, to put some runs up on the board if you can get some of those balls in the air. I like the matchups this week. I just kind of wish you got Lopez and Hicks against one another for storyline reasons, right?
Right. And I'll go back to the first pitcher in the series in Birdsong. You mentioned with it being a second career, he's only gone 4 2/3. He gave up 6 hits, one of which was a home run. He has walked 3, but he does have 5 strikeouts in 4 innings. So he must have some decent stuff. But this is the opportunity where we talk about getting back to that first part of the conversation we were having. Some of the guys struggling, the Ozunas of the world and the Olsons of the world, that this is an opportunity for them to kind of break out of that heading into that Philly series.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Birdsong, he's a guy, it's fastball's mid-90, curveball, slider, changeup. He struggled with command and control in his minor league career. And so those are the kind of guys that'll leave pitches over the plate that you can crush, right? We've seen it with Spencer Strellenbach, who hasn't struggled necessarily with control in his career, but is a guy that can sometimes get hit by home runs when he leaves the ball over the plate. So, you like the ability of these guys to get going against Birdsong and have a strong game one. It's going to come down to, in my opinion, you need 3 of those guys in that top 4 to hit. And right now we're seeing that Kelenic is hitting. Ozzy's doing fine. His June stats as a whole aren't great, but his last 15 games, he's doing okay right And then, maybe Austin Riley moves back to 3 today. Who knows? Maybe that's something where Marcell Ozuna or Matt Olson get going. You feel good about if Riley stays at 5, you've got Riley and Murphy there together that can drive some guys in or, get on base and do some stuff there. Ideally, you're going to find somebody in the bottom of the lineup. Ramon Laureano, if his back is doing better, he was out last couple games with a sore back. He's batting like 286 in the last little stretch. So if you can put him back out there in right field, you can get a guy in that bottom third. Each third of the lineup, you need 1 or 2 guys to be hitting in those groups. And, in that top 4 or 5, you need 3 or 4 of those to hit for this offense to work correctly, right? And I feel like this is a good opportunity to do that against a team that has dealt with some injuries, has struggled at shortstop in a couple different positions. They're missing Tyler Estrada right now. And on the mound has not had a lot of consistency from their guys and is relying on a lot of youth and inexperience.
So I got to ask you this because we keep talking about how Atlanta possibly needs to look at getting a corner outfielder. Rosario DFA'd, so you never put it past the Braves to go and grab somebody like him that's familiar with the organization. You look at Duvall, you look at Jesse Chavez. Every time he goes off and stubs his toe with another organization, the Braves are like, we'll take him. He's all world here. He's an all-star, so we'll just go ahead and bring him back. And it's just fascinating to me. And I do wonder if Eddie might be one of those guys that they take a shot on just to try to see if he can have a little resurgence.
Yeah, and something to understand about this here is since he was DFA'd, the contract that he got is being paid for by Washington. So if you pick up Eddie Rosario, you're only responsible for the prorated portion of the major league minimum. Now, offensively, he's not been great. He's been batting 183. His OPS is 555. He's one of the worst. I think he's 7th percentile on StatCast on run value. I was looking at that this morning. The exit velocity is still there. The hard hit percentage is still there. He hits balls hard, which is what Atlanta likes to do. And again, we've seen him do well in Atlanta. I don't necessarily know if they make a move or not. I wouldn't be opposed, but I feel like if Atlanta were to do something, their preference would be to put him in the minor leagues for a couple weeks, like they did with Ramon Laureano. And I don't know if that's going to be something he's willing to do, or if he's wanting to take a shot to play directly into the major leagues, into somebody's lineup. Now, again, Laureano did it. Maybe Rosario will do it. Maybe the idea of coming back to Atlanta will be meaningful. At the same time, I think we can acknowledge Atlanta absolutely made the right decision on turning down that option, right? Yep. They could have paid, I think it was $9 million to bring Rosario back for this season. He gets less than that with Washington, doesn't perform very well. In retrospect, the decision to decline that option was absolutely the right one in a series of right decisions made by Alex Anthopoulos. So shout out to AA for that one. Again, I'm not opposed to bringing Eddie Rosario back. I don't know if he should come straight to the major league roster, because to do that, you either have to get rid of somebody who's up now, which Duvall, they love Duvall. They're not going to get rid of Adam Duvall. They're not going to get rid of Ramon Laureano, who's actually hitting well unless he's consistently hurt. And so maybe you drop Luke Williams. And if you drop Luke Williams, now you're down to 1 infield backup. I don't know what they do. Yeah. I'm not opposed to it. I just feel like they would want to send him to the minor leagues for a week or 2 before they actually brought him back to Atlanta.
As I told a buddy of mine, he was asking me about it, and I said, here's how I feel about it. If AA decides to bring him back, I'm all for it. If AA says, no, we're not touching it, I'm all for it. Whatever AA wants to do, I'm putting my trust in him.
And AA we trust, yeah.
If he says, no, that's just not a road we want to go down. You know what? You're right. We don't want to go down that road, AA. You're the man. So we shall see. It should be interesting. It made its way all over social media as soon as it was announced that he got DFA'd, because everybody loves Eddie just because of what he's done for the Braves. However, you mentioned it right there, right around that 180 mark. As far as batting, that seems to be the big heavy collar around his throat right now that he can't get over. And so unless he just proved, as you said, bring him back to the minors, and if he gets hot there and a few hits here and there, and as you said, the exit velo's there, so if some stuff starts falling for him, you never know. But it's also cheap. That's one thing. You'd mentioned that to me before. And like you just said just a minute ago, anytime you can get a cheap option that may work out in the long run, I'm all for it. So especially where the Braves have, as far as their money situation is concerned. So it should be interesting. So as always, man, good stuff. Lots of stuff on Braves Today. BravesToday.com is where you can find all of it. Also, you can go to plainscoffee.com, use promo code Braves, get your 10% off. Lindsay, as always, I greatly appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, buddy.